Before we begin the workshop this morning, I'd like to announce that we have a new deputy chief clerk. Her name is Florence Ford. So if you get an email from her, please do not send that to fishing report. So we'll continue with the meeting, and then at the department head meeting, she will be providing a short bio on what she's done before she's come to the Cumberland County. So welcome her aboard, and we'll try to get around to see everybody. But right now we're in paper performance, so I don't know how soon that will be. We'll try as soon as we can. Okay. Good morning, commissioners. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the January 24th, 2019 Cumberland County Commissioners Workshop meeting. Please stand and join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I call this meeting to order at 9 a.m. and at this time open up the floor to public comment. Okay, hearing none and seeing none, we'll move on to agenda item 3. And calling for Victor Rigo to present Jeff Kelly an award for his 33 years of service to Cumberland County. Jeff, Kurt, you want to come up, please?
Jimmy Chalk in the building. Oh, that's right here.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're here to recognize Jeff Kelly, who has served the county very well for 33 years. He is now no longer employed. Going last Friday was your last day. There was a nice gathering over at Allen Road for your final meeting at the Planning Commission. But first time I met Jeff was when I first became a township supervisor in Silver Spring, and you had, at least the whole time I was there, represented the county's input on township plans and development. And I can tell you, we always got top-notch comments, service from the county. And I know you probably serve other townships as well, Jeff, but on behalf of the Board of Commissioners in the county, we would like to present this plaque to you for your 33 years of dedicated service. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Thank you for the support of Perry all these years. It's been a very enjoyable walk ride. In fact, if I could do it again, I think I could. I think I would. And I'd also like to thank Kirk and his staff, and our staff really over there. Really supported me, and it was a pleasure working there all these years. It was fantastic. They're the best. The best. Thank you. Thank you all very much.
I just say with Jeff, for our planning department, he really set the standard that we expect. So when we look at our core values of our department, two that really stick out in mind are be present and respect local autonomy. So we look at our municipalities, that's who we have to work with on a daily basis. Jeff set the standard for being present. He's been at thousands of night meetings, and he set the standard that if we're going to do work with our municipalities, you have to show up. Even as late as last week, the Thursday of his last day, he volunteered to go to night meeting. I said, no, you're done. So, I think he set the standard for us of what our planning department should look like. He's trained us all very well, so that as he leaves, we're set to carry on that tradition. Jeff, thanks a lot. I mean, I can't thank him enough for all he's done. Most importantly, I consider him a personal friend, and we'll continue that relationship, but they don't make him like Jeff anymore.
Well, I've been through a couple already.
Couple more here.
Enjoy your retirement.
Thank you.
Okay, agenda item number 4, Commissioner Mr. Legal will present resolution Jeffo with their 25 years of service to the board. Lisa and Skip, please come forward.
And next, we are celebrating Lisa's 25 years of service to the county. She was hired in December 1993 as a department clerk 2 from Clerk of Courts. Promoted June 1997 to second deputy. Transferred in October 2002 to victim witness as coordinator counselor. Lisa, thank you for your 25 years of service. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Would you like to say anything?
Sure. I am so honored and flattered to be acknowledged for serving the county for 25 years. I honestly appreciate every opportunity I've had within the county, and I look forward to many more years. But no, seriously, I am feel very fortunate to serve the citizens of Cumberland County in the capacity I've been able to do that, and I really do thank you for this acknowledgement. Thank you.
You all cannot forget that, as the commissioner indicated, the first 10 years was in the clerk of court's office. Now, this was a time under the county government legend of Bobby Gwynn. Quite an education, right? But we were so fortunate to have her transfer to our section in 2002. She's been an incredibly great victim service worker, which is not an easy job on any particular day. I do look forward to a lot more years in service. Thank you.
Very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Let me just take one.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to agenda item 5, Charles Hall will be discussing resolution 2019-7, which is amending resolution 2017-7 by revising the coroner's fees for cremation authorization late fees. Charlie?
Good morning, Commissioners. This is an amendment to Resolution 2017-7. This arises out of the fact that Governor Wolf signed back in November Act 54, which set the fees that we're allowed to charge for autopsy reports, toxicology reports, and for the first time, they set cremation fees at $50. We were at $50 already, so there's no change for the cremation fees, but the other fees, autopsy, as you can see in the proposal there, you see the current fees on the left column and the proposed new fees on the right column. And we need the commissioners to approve this resolution so I'm allowed to charge the fees set by statute. This is just part of a bigger picture. I have attorneys messing with my fees all the time. I had a federal magistrate order me to give an attorney in a civil lawsuit against the state prison system all my stuff for 50 cents a piece. I had to give him the autopsy report for 50 cents. I had to give him all the photographs for 50 cents. Instead of having a $3,100 bill, he had a $74 bill. And I don't think the taxpayers of Cumberland County should foot the bill for lawsuits brought by attorneys and so forth, because when they win, they usually win hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, and they don't want to pay my fees for the stuff that probably wins their fees. So I'm in the process also of petitioning the Court of Common Pleas in Cumberland County to have a judge order these fees as an order along with your resolution. So then I have something to stand on when an attorney asks me for cheaper rates.
Any questions for Charlotte?
Shirley, how do these fees line up with like the surrounding counties? Are they,
Well, my cremation fee is exactly what everybody else is charging. Now, down near Philly, Montgomery County, Delaware County, they're charging like $100. But I've kept mine at 50. The other fees, the autopsy reports, the toxicology reports, that's all set by statute in the county code. So everybody charges the same amount for those.
all right. So the $500 for autopsy report is the same as established by the...
That's statewide, that's set by the county code now. And, but we need a resolution approved by the commissioners so the county's permitted to charge that.
Got it. Okay.
And, you know, we pay $3,000 for an autopsy, and the autopsy report is part of that fee, and we shouldn't be giving it to attorneys for next to nothing.
Any additional questions?
No, I'm good.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Thanks, Charlie.
Next, we'll move on to agenda item 6, which is contracts and grants. Agenda item 6, Roman numeral 1, A through C, are existing contracts, contract extensions, or amendments with no additional cost or increase to the county. They include the following departments. There's one contract for aging community services. There's a grant for Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Commission for IMTO and archives, and we have two grants for MH, or two contracts for MHIUD. Commissioners, do you have any questions regarding any of the above-mentioned contracts? Okay, thank you. Hearing none, we'll move on to agenda item 6, Roman numeral 2, which consists of new contracts, vendors, services, grants, and contracts with increases and decreases to the county. And begin by calling on Jamie to discuss the agreements for children and youth. Jamie?
Good morning,
Oh,
Commissioners.
Lisa.
Jamie Pimentel.
Okay.
An appointment date. I'm here to ask for approval for a fiscal year 18-19 contract for Devereaux. They're asking for a 3% increase in two of their fully funded services and 4.88% and 7.67% in the county funded, which is the room and board portion. This is a provider that we only place children there that are placed in the mental health system that don't have discharge plans to return to their families. And they're very difficult kids to place, and usually nobody else will take them. So we place them there until we can find an appropriate placement for them.
Anyone have any questions for Lisa? Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go on and call on Melissa Smith, who will be discussing the two agreements for Claremont Nursing and Rehabilitation Center. Melissa?
Good morning. The first one is for Healthcare Academy. This is a web-based healthcare-related content application designed for the senior living industry. They have over 350 lessons in their library. It's required and mandatory learning. They can also help us with new higher orientation. And they also offer a CE, continuing education program for the nurses. This is a new FTAC requirement, phase 3 of the state regulations. There's a minimum mandatory, it'll also allow us to track all the activity that the employees do. There's a minimum mandatory 12 hours of training for the CNAs. The facility requires annual trainings. One of the things that complicates the way we're currently doing it manually is it's now based on anniversary date of the employee's hire as opposed to allowing us to do it on a calendar basis. It allows us to create our own education programs and add to the process. It has certification programs available for MDS and ICD-10 and the care coordinator. The policies, if you hand over to an employee a new policy, then they have to acknowledge that they have read it, which will allow us some secure background support on the employees being trained on the different policies, new policies, existing policies. I had hoped Heather would have been here to help, but she couldn't make it today. So I'll try and answer any questions with this that you might have.
I'm not even sure what it is.
It's a software program
It's a
to,
web-based application, but what is the benefit of it, and what are we doing now in place of it?
we are manually tracking all employees' training. And it's all paper, everything's signed off. And as you know, paper can get missed or delayed or misplaced.
For sure.
This will allow the employee to go in either at home or probably not union employees at home, but other people at home on their breaks in the training room to log on and take whatever course or education or new policy that they need, and it will document it. It has an automatic feed that will keep employees updated currently with their date of hire and date of termination, so it's not a lot of manual process to update that as well. Am I making it any clearer?
Are you clear as to what?
It sounds like similar to what the sheriff's office has in Flexipol, that houses all of the policies, I would assume, has notifications where employees can acknowledge receipt and receipt of the policies. What I see as a significant benefit is when the Department of Health comes in for a survey. Right now, we are pulling an Excel spreadsheet that reports into a manual trash. I would assume there would be a reporting capability that instead of digging in a file, we can actually push a button, provide a report on employees, individual employees of the trainings they receive, as well as in particular training, who attended and when for those trainings.
There are other offices that have that. You mentioned, I think, what sheriff's office?
The sheriff's office.
Sorry, there is another one that 911, I think, on the training ones here from 911. They're looking at another product called Power EMS, which has similar capabilities, it tracks policies, allows for sign-off. I don't know how much detail it is as far as training. We're trying to just kind of start investigating that. I wasn't aware of their need.
Or in your opinion, are these so specialized that we need to do this on a piecemeal basis?
Well, I was hoping to do a county-wide one, but the Power EMS is really, really expensive, so we've just approved the public safety just to go forward there. They are more specialized. The nursing home may be in a similar situation. I'm not familiar with the need, so.
Yeah, it is very specialized to the industry, knowing what, and it ties back into state and federal requirements as well.
I think there's a need countywide to have a mechanism similar to, but the nursing home, public safety, and sheriff's, I think they have specialized trainings and policies which are in their products that are needed in those areas.
I just want to make sure we're thinking of those terms, so it sounds like.
We had looked at another package called Reliance, which is one that I'm familiar with and used in the past, but the price of that was almost double and didn't offer the CEU, continuing education credits and stuff, which is a big reason why I'm going to this. I mean, not only price, but allowing the staff to get their CEUs.
Is this a one-time cost, Melissa?
It's an annual fee.
The 30,000 for 29.
Just 1 second, I'm sorry. It goes until 2021, so it's a three-year fee.
So it's roughly $10,000.
Any additional questions on that?
No, I just want to just a little bit further. I believe you started off saying this is required by the regulations.
There is a requirement of being able to produce some kind of reports to show that employees have been trained on this, that, and the other thing. And we've been manually doing that. The requirement change is that we used to be able to track it calendar-wise, and now it's anniversary date-wise for date of hire of each employee. So it makes it a little more difficult to track it. But this is not a new, we've always had to provide documentation of our employees' current policies.
Again, the issue of the training itself, is this subscription service going to provide the training itself?
Yes, and we can add our own videos and our own training to that web base so they can, if we have something very specialized to plan on.
Well, like our policies.
Right, exactly.
Should be part of the
Yes.
training, I would think.
Yes.
I would think this would save some man hours? Do you have-
Absolutely.
Do you have any estimate on that?
I do not, but I can certainly look into that.
Even just a rough estimate, I think would help. I think this is good. So, but it would be nice to just have some sense of what
I
the
will
offset
get
is.
that to you.
What? So I have a lot of questions regarding the software and the data that's going on the website. So I don't know if that's something that we should discuss offline as far as what data is going being out there. None of this came to IMTO as far as the software.
I was told that it had.
Yeah, I'm not somebody, as far as the asset concept paper and new software and visibility of what other people are trying to do from a software perspective. So I know.
Your concerns sound like they're more than just the details of how we implement. They're pretty fundamental. So
Yeah, I mean,
this probably should not move forward.
probably should, unless there's a dire need to have it implemented like tomorrow, I hope maybe at least let me.
They are concerned because we're in the survey window, but I will take your concerns back and we will get back with you this afternoon on that and figure out what we
Are
need to do.
are there ways to get out of a 3-year contract that you can you do it in 1 year at a time?
Let's do this. How about you guys talk offline? We'll leave this, in my opinion, I would leave this on the agenda, but if your concerns are not sufficiently met by Monday, we can table it.
Absolutely. If you see anything, see the contract, any issues, so we're more of an IMTO issue.
I can probably get my questions answered quickly.
Well, yeah, well, that'll, as Gary said, we'll wait and see what happens before we take action.
Okay, the second contract that I have is with Encore. Encore's the new therapy company, contracted therapy company that the Claremont has selected to use going forward. We would need to give the current therapy company a 60-day notice, and we'd like to get that out by February 1st and have these people start April 1st.
This is a new provider then?
It is a new provider. I expect that the savings will be at least that.
I don't know. I think they were on that. It's not a scam. It's an added.
I think this is one of the areas, isn't it, Melissa, that we were looking at in terms of how much we're spending?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And you're projecting you're about a $369,000 savings from the current
Yes.
provider.
And they offer really great programs, and they'll support marketing, events, and education of the staff. They'll assist with billing concerns.
And this is a 1-year,
This is a 1-year contract. I think with an auto renewal. And a 60-day out. An auto renewal with a 60-day out.
Keith, you've looked at this.
I did. I tried to change a number of terms, but some of them were, some of them weren't.
You're satisfied with it?
I'm never satisfied with it, but I'm okay with it.
I know that. Did that explain the beard? It's a protest beard.
Okay. Thank you. Next, we'll move on to agenda item C, authorized assignment to discuss the agreement for drug and alcohol.
Good morning, Commissioners. The contract with Missouri is for drug and alcohol outpatient and intensive outpatient services in the prison. This contract runs on a calendar year. Most of our other outpatient contracts run on a fiscal year. So we're just getting these rates in line with the others. Any questions?
Thank you, Ryan. Next, we'll move on to agenda item D, and Linda McCullough will be discussing MHID agreements for early intervention fiscal year 2018-19 and intellectual and developmental disabilities for fiscal year 2018-19.
The 3 early intervention contracts are all increases due to increases in service.
whether it is services as in nutrition, occupational, physical therapy, or in the case of Geneva, that is language interpretation. We're finding more and more children and families need language interpretation within our counties right now. And as far as the IDD, it's Living Unlimited, that's also an increase, and that is due to the changing results of their consumer plans and the more services being offered.
Any questions, commissioners?
Is this a one-year contract?
Yep, they're all one-year contracts.
Contracts that they've done in price?
No. Early intervention specialists went up $9,000, almost $10,000. Geneva's $5,500. Kimberly Snowden did almost double, and that's because she's picking up more base-funded consumers for speech therapy. Speech therapy is a big need in the early intervention population. So, and intellectual disabilities, the Living Unlimited only went up $2,500. And all these are state set rates. We don't have anything to do with the rate setting. It's only the services we provide. And of course, early intervention is mandated.
The question was, is too detailed, but in terms of meeting the language needs, what are the parameters of that? I mean, how open-ended is that?
Well, we have to have somebody, whether it's by phone or in person, every time we have somebody for an evaluation and we go out to meet with a family, you know, whether it's, I mean, we're getting all different languages now too. It's not just like Spanish, you know. We're getting a lot of other languages out there that,
How many
you
days
know.
realistically can we meet in-house versus phone call? We contract with phone.
Right. It's a combination of phone and in person. So sometimes it becomes one family to, you know.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Okay, agenda item E, Earl to discuss the agreement for the prison, or Travis, sorry.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is the prison's annual agreement with the Pennsylvania Chiefs of Police Association, which covers the maintenance and service on the CPIN and live scan instruments used in central booking. This agreement calls for 2019 is $13,300, an increase of $79 from 2018, for which it is $13,221.
Are there any questions for Travis? Thank you, Travis.
Thank you.
Next, we'll move on to agenda item F and call on Claudia Gardner, who is joining us video teleconferencing, to discuss the agreement with SSC Consulting LLC. Claudia?
Morning, everyone. Public Safety is asking for your approval to engage in a contract with SSC Consulting for a comprehensive agreement for consulting and project management services as they relate to the P25 Public Safety Radio project for a not to exceed price of $523,962. As you recall, in 2016, when we started this project, we went through a very thorough competitive search for a consultant to conduct phase one of this project, complete with proposals, customer feedback surveys, and in-person presentations for the board. Upon SSC selection, they immediately went to work and delivered a final product for one that was not only thoroughly complete, but also provided cost-saving options for the county without compromising quality. Given their success in the first phase, we feel that SSC is the right firm to lead us through the rest of this project. The proposal that they provided includes 6 critical milestones: tower site structural development, system specification design and documentation, vendor proposal review and selection, project implementation, the system acceptance and coverage testing, and the system cutover and subscriber installation quality assurance. Each of the milestones have key decision points for the board and will have well-documented options for you to make informed decisions along every step of the way. SSC will hold project meetings, sometimes monthly. As we get into more intensive decision times, it'll be weekly. They'll prepare and maintain the timelines for the vendor, our project team, the financial planning piece, and they'll also provide monthly progress reports for the board. The contract will be for the life of the project until system acceptance, and it falls right within the range of our initial project financial projections for a consultant. The return on investment will come basically in the value of having someone dedicated to keeping a pulse on the project, reassuring that impartial recommendations, and the ability to keep on track and foresee any pitfalls, and hold the vendors to the established schedules. Again, the contract is $523,962 through the implementation.
Any questions for Claudia?
No, we've discussed this at length, and how long, well, I do have one question. So the contract is good through implementation of the system? Claudia?
Correct. Through the implementation, assuring that everything's installed correctly and everything works according to the contracts, and we sign off saying, yes, it's a complete project.
So this is definitely a multi-year contract?
Absolutely.
Okay, all right.
But it has a not to exceed price.
I see, yeah.
Any other questions?
I'm good.
Good. Thank you, Claudia.
Thanks, have a good day.
You too. We'll move on to agenda item 7, and I'll call on Dr. Gressa and Holly Sherman to discuss agenda item 7 regarding authorization to change the county's 457B deferred compensation plan to ICMA, RC, and agenda item 8, acknowledgement of recommendation of the Cumberland County Retirement Board. Bob?
Okay, thank you. Good morning. For anyone in the public or employees who may be watching and listening, before we start, it's very important that we note that what we're talking about here is the county's 457B deferred compensation plan, the deferred compensation plan that employees can voluntarily participate in. We're not talking about the county pension plan, and the reason I think that's important is because I'm going to mention the retirement board in a capacity here. So I wanted to get that clarification out there for everyone. Although ultimate 457B plan responsibility falls on the Board of Commissioners, a couple of years ago, the Retirement Board and the Board of Commissioners came to an agreement that the Retirement Board would provide advisory services to the Board of Commissioners on the 457B plan. The Retirement Board, of course, is yourselves, the controller and the treasurer. Since then, the discussions on the process that led us to today have all happened during public retirement board meetings. There was a couple items that during the course of this, the Board of Commissioners had to act on, and that was done in public meetings, particularly the one that comes to mind is a contract for Marquette to help us with the 457 process. But in a nutshell, an RFP was sent to several companies on 457B plan services, and we utilized Marquette Associates to help us to analyze the RFP results. They also went back and obtained additional information that was needed to assist the board in making an informed decision. At last Monday's retirement board meeting on January 14th, the 3 finalists were brought in to give the retirement board presentations on 457 plan RFP they had provided and discuss the merits of each of their plans. At the end of that meeting, the retirement board concluded and is making a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners excuse me, that ICMARC become the county's 457B plan provider for the reasons that were discussed at that meeting. But chief among them, their competitive fee structure and their technological and educational approach really seemed to hammer home an approach that we really thought would be beneficial for ourselves and for the employees. So that recommendation is agenda item 7. That is what you're going to be asked to vote on for Monday. And just as an aside, the transition from the current plans to the new plans, we're not reinventing the wheel here. This happens frequently in plans. Fortunately for us, Marquette Associates, who we're using during this process, has done this many times and is very familiar with how to do this, and will assist us through this to make this transition as seamless as possible for the plan participants and for the county itself. Since we're discussing this today and you're not acting on it officially until Monday, We are also recommending to the board that agenda item 9, there's a informational letter that we suggest be sent out immediately after this meeting to employees and former employees who are still plan participants, so they have an understanding of what it is we're talking about and what's voted on Monday, so they're kept in the loop on this. And again, the item number 7, what is actually being done on Monday is essentially your authorization for the county of Marquette to move forward with transitioning to the new ICMA. During that process, there's going to be a lot of agreements and contracts that will need to be signed, of course, as they are required and appropriate. We will bring them before the board. Once we start with the process, we'll be able to give the board more detailed information on the projected timeline, the things that we need to get done, and items like that. That's item number 7. Item number 8, at that same commissioner meeting last Monday, the retirement board made the recommendation to the Board of Commissioners that Marquette Associates be utilized to provide fiduciary services to the county for the 457B plan, assisting the Board of Commissioners in providing a high level of oversight into the plan. The action requested on Monday by the Board of Commissioners is to acknowledge the recommendation of the retirement board to request an agreement from Marquette Associates for this service. And as a way of background, Marquette Associates has been providing similar service to the retirement board for the pension plan for many years, and provides a good service and something that the retirement board has been comfortable with. Any questions I can answer?
Thank you, Bob. So following that, agenda item 9, Commissioner DeFilippo will discuss the authorization to distribute 457B deferred compensation plan change memo distributed to all county employees and former employees and participants. Commissioners, this part is an action requested item for today. Commissioner DeFilippo?
Did you guys get a chance to read the letter?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. No issues.
And I did run by, I got John Gross's approval and control of income, so they're fine with the letter also.
Keith, any comments on any of this?
No, I have not seen the letter.
All right. The last paragraph is what satisfied the question I had, because we'll be taking action on something that won't be approved until Monday. Is there a motion to approve? Is there a second?
Second.
Any further questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried.
Next, we'll move on to agenda item 10, discussion of capital project requests, and begin with John Mobb, who will be discussing 5 capital project requests for facilities. John?
Good morning, Commissioners. The first 2 are the county barn on Claremont Road, where we set up the recycling drop-off site. We've made a lot of improvements within the site, within the barn, and at the site, and the barn is in need of painting. And we would also like to pave the area that's getting pretty bad. And those are the first 2 capital requests. The third one is the old courthouse, the bell tower support replacement. We've noticed deterioration on the supports, and we'd like to have engineering completed along with support replacements completed. That's what that capital project is for. The old jail, the glass atrium in the cell area, that has been patched, painted, taped, and to avoid leaks. And now we're in need of replacing the glass at the atrium and also painting the metal areas that sustain the glass. 1615 Rittner Highway, Phase 2. This is a capital project request that was partially approved last year, and it includes Siemens work for remote access and tying it to our computer-based system for the HVAC system. And IMCO requirements are included in that. And also a sign for the front entrance to depict who is in the building and so forth, and also paving due to some of the situations that arrived after we purchased the building, with digging up some of the pavement. It will either be a patching, or it will be a complete patching with top coat.
Are there any questions for John?
John, are these estimated costs or have they actually been bid on?
Pardon?
Are these estimated costs?
These are
or have
estimated.
they been bid on?
These are estimated. With the capital project request, what we try to do is we try to estimate what we think it's going to cost. The barn painting may be a little high, but I won't know until I look at the roof and things of that nature to see if that also needs painted. And so these are all estimates.
Any additional questions?
1615, is that the new?
That's the new facility.
As an aside, have we doing anything about a naming regimen since they got building, county buildings side by side?
Did you say naming?
Like a naming regimen, some type of,
Signing.
if you're gonna do something, it would be the time to determine if you want to name the two buildings as a way of differentiating them. As county facility A, county facility B. With better names than that.
We're tying the two together as a written
John
campus.
Locke building.
No, well, that would be very expensive. But we're tying it together with the Rittner campus, so both of them will have the same type of nomenclature as far as the Rittner campus right there.
So we have like a Rittner 1, Rittner 2?
It's not Rittner 1, Rittner 2, they're both Rittner campuses.
Yeah.
But we're tying we're also detailing it. If you're familiar with the sign on the current Rittner location, at 1600, we have the Rittner campus,
Right.
the Cumberland County Rittner campus, and then we also have the departments that are in the building. And that's the same thing we want to do with the same color scheme and everything as we did this, the building across from it. That's a good question.
I guess my only question on that is if you're driving by and you have to read which departments are in there, it's a bit unwieldy. So
That's how crashes are.
Well, we try and make the lettering so big that it hurts your eyes when you look at it, so that you actually see it from the road.
it's a lot of letters.
It's not a swinging thing.
I'm just saying, I think there could possibly be a better, we give a thought to it, there could possibly be a better naming. You know, just
I'll say
Rittner 1, Rittner 2, I don't have to do that, but
Internally, we call it Rittner Annex.
annex.
Yeah. Or that's just from my perspective.
D.
So we know for Peters and Survey.
My only point is, it would be, there's the internal nomenclature, but it would be helpful when you're directing people which building to go to be able to instantly pick out which building, two county buildings side by side. And you're also gonna, there's probably gonna be some confusion between that and Allen Road as well, so.
Definitely.
It'd be nice if we saw a little bit of some options.
Okay, are there any other additional questions for John? Thanks, John. Next, we'll move on to Orr's Road's replacement. Total project cost $7,500,000. Commissioners Kirk had another commitment and had to leave, so he has provided you, which Flo had sent you yesterday, information that was placed in your packets regarding this project. So based on what was presented by Kirk, do you have any additional questions related to this project?
Well, I'm just glad it's finally moving to construction. Long awaited, and it's one of the biggest projects we have. And the good news is that most of this is funded by the federal and state government. The $7.5 million allocation, I understand the construction itself is somewhere in the neighborhood of $5 million. But I'm glad this is a major artery in Camden Township, major largest municipality in our county, and it's good that it's finally moving to construction. And, it's taken a lot longer than we all hoped, but it's going to get done now. So I'm glad to see that. And, I think what construction, what we understand from the public release on this is it's expected to begin as early as next month. and I guess running for the next year and a half until it's all completed. The good news for commuters and for those who use the bridge, the Lower's Bridge, which is about 10,000 vehicles a day, is that the current bridge will stay open while a new bridge is being constructed. The new bridge is going to be in a curve downstream from the existing bridge. And then the end of the project, once the new bridge is open, will be the demolition of the old bridge. But it's been weight restricted, which has been an issue. We try to move this as fast as possible. I'm just glad we're here to get it done. I think it's the biggest bridge project that we have in our capital improvement plan. And it's an important one.
Thank you, Commissioner Herzog. Next, we move on to agenda item 11, and I would like to discuss the appointment recommendations to the Cumberland County Commission for Women. You should have received their resumes prior to this meeting, and they are requesting that Jennifer Haggerty and Shelley Capozzi be appointed to the Cumberland County Commission for Women for a 3-year term, and both of their terms are effective January 28, 2019, and expiring January 27, 2022. So I would like to have this placed on my agenda for approval at that time. Any questions on that?
How many members are we up to, Sandy?
If these two members are approved, we have a resignation for 15 members.
15?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, we're on the upswing.
Yes. All right, next we'll move on to the Commissioner's Liaison Report, and we'll begin with Commissioner DeFelico.
Yeah, thanks, Neil. A couple items here. The Local Emergency Planning Commission met on January 10th. Some highlights for calendar year 2018, there were 41 hazmat incidents, which totaled 267 man-hours. The majority of these incidents were hydrocarbon spills. As far as training for 2018, the team had 1,100 total training hours with an average of 43 hours per member. And some updates, the Department of Public Safety, they're holding a symposium on Saturday. All are welcome, and there will be a meet and greet with the DPS staff, review of communications manual, and who does what, and also information on special teams. The LEPC's bylaws were revised and approved at that meeting. First planning meeting for the 2019 Sarah Summit was done. Taylor Griffiths will now be the committee chairman for 2019. He was also the chairman for 2018. Some old business, PEMA reappointment certificates were presented to myself, Megan Silverstrom, Jim Stickney, and Steve Spangler. Chris Schultz from the American Red Cross will be serving as a community group representative. There's been an opening for quite some time, but glad to see that she will be filling that spot. There were elections held for the LEPC. Steve Spangler was nominated and accepted the position of chairman. Taylor Griffith accepted the position of vice chairman. And I believe that is it for the LEPC. The Western Cumberland Council of Governments also met recently. Just some highlights, a Big Spring School District. Setting out bids for the second phase of renovations, which will include Oak Flat Elementary, Mount Rock Elementary, the middle school, and the high school. They hope to award the project in February and begin construction in the spring of this year. In Dickinson Township, they have completed their zoning ordinance update, and now they're moving on to their subdivision and development ordinance. In Lower Frankfort Township, that township is also finishing up its zoning ordinance update. In Newburgh Borough, it was reported that the borough is looking for a new tax collector. Penn Township, the Ridge development project on the Eckes property has been shut down for the winter. Huge sinkholes discovered also on the Human Lever property. And that is it for West Cog. I do want to just highlight that all the commissioners attended a very good gathering with the junior leadership group over at the old courthouse. All three commissioners also visited the Winding Creek Elementary School, which is the newest school in CD School District. I think it's fair to say we were very impressed with our tour of that school. Just a couple other things. I attended the Tom's Court ceremony last week and also attended the Martin Luther King event last Sunday. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Commissioner.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Hartzler.
Okay, thanks, Sandy. I do have a few things to share. The county's Housing and Redevelopment Authority boards met last Thursday, and the big topic of discussion was the pending adverse impact that the partial federal government shutdown will soon have on an array of programs administered by our county's housing and redevelopment authorities. In effect, nobody is at home at the regional field office of the Department of Housing and Urban Development in Philadelphia. And while funding for an array of programs such as voucher assistance that helps pay the rent for more than 1,200 qualifying families in our county, and subsidy for public housing for families and seniors is available through February, there is no word on what happens after February if the shutdown continues. The county's housing authority distributes some $550,000 each month in voucher payments to landlords who participate in the Housing Choice Voucher Program. And in addition to helping families keep a roof over their heads, landlords rely on those payments to pay mortgages, utilities, staff, and property upkeep. The Housing Authority has sent out a letter to its landlord partners requesting their patience and understanding if the shutdown results in delayed payments, and for their cooperation in working with the Housing Authority and tenants so that no family is evicted from housing during this unfortunate period. In addition to the potential delay in payments to Housing Choice Voucher landlords, operating subsidy for the county's public and senior housing will dry up at the end of next month. Also, renewal grants for support services for assistance to homeless individuals and families are in limbo. Those grants total more than $1 million to Cumberland County on an annual basis, and the current grants expire February 1. So while Cumberland County may not have been hit as hard as some other areas as a result of the partial federal government shutdown, primarily I think because our military installations don't appear to have been affected, it is about to hit home in a big way if they don't soon settle this. And if my colleagues are in agreement, I'd like to communicate to our federal representatives, to congressmen, and to United States senators, and to the president as to the pending impact a continuation of the shutdown would have on whether some of our county's neediest citizens have a roof over their heads for the rest of the winter. It's time for those who represent us at the federal level, all of them, to end this nonsense of a shutdown that now poses more risk to our citizens well beyond the payless paydays for government workers and government contractors and their employees. The county's Aging Advisory Board met last Friday for its first meeting of the new year. There were reports from all of our senior centers throughout the county, all the range of activities and functions for the benefit of our older citizens. Betty McGarrow was unanimously elected as the new chair of the Aging Advisory Board. Skip McGarrow, no immediate family relation, was unanimously elected vice chair. The Office of Aging is working in cooperation with the District Attorney's Office to establish an Elder Abuse Prevention Task Force. The office through the volunteers of the Apprise program, helped more than 764 county citizens navigate the choices during the Medicare open enrollment this past year. In fact, there were over 400 face-to-face meetings handled by our Apprise program with seniors. Monthly meetings are underway for a caregiving support program, and participation is open to family members and caregivers of all ages to learn more and share information on programs that are available to help with in-home care for aging adults. There are rumors afoot that the administration may try again with the governor's upcoming budget proposal to consolidate the rather small and relatively inexpensive State Department of Aging within the behemoth that is the State Department of Human Services, formerly the Pennsylvania Department of Public Welfare. And our seniors are understandably concerned about that proposal rearing its head again. The Department of Aging was created 40 years ago last year, in part to ensure that our older citizens, today's fastest growing segment of our population, have a seat at the table in deciding what's best for them instead of somebody else deciding it for them. Anyway, we'll see what, if this is just an unfounded rumor or something actually resurfaces for debate again this year. The county's Conservation District Board met for the first time this year on Tuesday to hear annual reports from both staff and cooperating agencies, and it was unfortunately the first time the board met without its leader of 24 years, our departed friend Wilbur Wolf. Wilbur, as we know, passed away January the 4th as a result of a tragic accident on his farm. He was remembered at the district board meeting for all that he did in service to our county. As a member of the Conservation District Board itself for nearly 30 years, and for his dedicated leadership in the interest of protecting our county's water and natural resources. The meeting was attended by Wilbur's daughter, Elizabeth Richwine, who I thank for sharing Wilbur with us for so many years. With his seat vacant, member Duff George was elected chairman, and member Glenn Kimmel was elected vice chairman. In order to fill the vacancy, the remainder of Wilbur's term in a timely manner, the board has recommended our appointment of one of two associate directors, Mike Ward or Paul Wilson. We are expected to receive further communication from Carl Goshorn on the board's recommendation. On other matters, the Conservation District Board authorized the award of 3 $500 scholarships to Cumberland County students who are attending college and studying in the fields ranging from landscape contracting, wildlife conservation, and community environmental development. These are the first of the scholarships to be awarded this year from profits from districts, golf outing, and tree seedling sale. In the annual report from staff, it was disclosed that the amount of county subsidy required to support the Conservation District has shrunk by about half, from nearly $100,000 in 2016 to $48,000 this past year. So even though the work of the district staff is going up, the cost of the county is going down because of the permit review and other fee revenues and grants that the district has been able to collect and attract. In the past fiscal year, meanwhile, Conservation District staff have inspected 99 farms as part of the effort to ensure that best management practices are in place as part of the county's effort toward improving the quality of the Chesapeake Bay. The vast majority of the farms inspected are in full compliance with regulations, and the few that are not are moving toward compliance. A concern was voiced at the board meeting over what appears could be shaping up as another unfunded mandate by the state to require the counties to complete certain federal reporting requirements previously handled by the State Department of Environmental Protection. Discussions are underway that will hopefully lead to funding the governor's budget to the counties for this additional work. And finally, In an announcement by the district's cooperating agencies, our county's agricultural extension, it was announced that Cumberland County is sharing a $111,000 Growing Greener grant for the development of a master watershed steward program similar to the Master Gardeners program, where watershed management training will be offered to volunteers involved in the protection of our water resources here in Cumberland County.
Thank you, Commissioner Iceberg.
Yeah, just one addition to Jim's report, since you brought it up. I have no objection to the board getting my correspondence regarding the shutdown issue, but I think all the board will have to see the verbiage that's adopted for that. And I would also point out that if we're going to address the correspondence to the president, I'm assuming that's the president of the United States, then we also need to address the House and Senate leadership who have the problem. So, sure, we'll see how that develops. I'll look into it.
Well, hopefully maybe the United States Senate will do something today. So,
All right, real quick, I don't have a whole heck of a lot. Vince already mentioned a number of the things that all three of us did. And we, of course, had the Economic Development Corporation's meeting was this week, all three commissioners in attendance. That was last week, actually. Or was this week? The only other thing I wanted to add is on Planning Commission, and I got this from Kirk a little while ago, so I'm not sure it's as timely as it could be, but I think you're all familiar that we're looking at doing a housing affordability analysis. It's been discussed here before, and that's being done in cooperation with our planning department, Katie, and the Housing and Redevelopment Authority. So Kirk sent me an update on that a little while back, saying they had met, all parties had met to discuss the scope of work involved in what type of analysis, and that Shippensburg is currently putting together the revised scope of work. They're going to share that back with everybody. We'll be getting some feedback on that when that occurs. I don't think there's been anything.
Here, can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah. Don't know how we answer it.
No, one of the questions that I asked, and I don't know that I got an answer, was how long is this study going to take? When is it going to be completed?
Well, I think that's going to be determined by what's incorporated into the scope of work, so, which is what they've had their discussions on. So let me check with, send Kirk a note and just see if there's anything on the date he sent me this a week and a half ago, so I'll see if there's anything. But once they have the scope of work, that'll tell us a lot about.
I think I just raised that question because, we know we have a housing affordability problem here in the county. And, so the sooner we can move beyond studying it and actually trying to see what we collaboratively can do with everybody, it would be good.
Right. Well, the diagnostic process is important to figuring out, you have a problem, but you have to figure out exactly what that problem is and what it looks like and what the drivers of it are. So that's, I'm sure what this is intended to address. Well, a lot more answers once the scope of work, of course, is the upfront work that you do to get the good answers. So I'll check in with him regarding that.
Thank you. Sorry, Joe.
No. On the recycling front, just a couple of things. We had the authority meeting was Monday. I was there, and we had a lot of discussion on the current recycling contract, which will be coming due later in the spring. Justin has been in touch with the recycler and had discussions with them. They are offering to extend the contract for another year, same terms and conditions. A lot of discussion around the table about that. And the conclusion was that we have a pretty good deal. The prospects of getting a better deal are not considered to be very good. And in fact, we might be pretty lucky to end up with a similar contract or extending the same contract we have. So the authority members voted to recommend, that's ultimately a decision of the commissioners contract, but the authority recommended that they'll be bringing us a more formalized recommendation on that, but we are going to be seeing a recommendation shortly in writing from them that we review that, and they'd like to have that achieved the next workshop meeting in 2 weeks. So if there's any questions that occur to you, that's, you can start turning those over and maybe formalize what those are going to look like, but we are going to be asked to do that. Justin seemed to have a pretty good basis for his recommendation to the authority, which is adopted and extend this. So you'll be hearing more of that. The current contract ends, it's good through the end of April, so there's a little bit of time involved, but if we would choose to go a different direction, that's open a lot of potential avenues that would take some time and energy to address. So, let's see. The other matter, there continues to be a lot of discussion regarding the yard waste recycling and the viability as the expense rises on that. They're looking to try to come up with a longer-term plan that will provide adequate for that program. I'm going to have more information for you going forward on that. Nothing's concluded there, but we did, of course, get the 902 grant that allowed for the new equipment purchase. But there have been a number of issues in regards to maintenance and upkeep and how much municipalities are paying, whether that's sufficient, and whether we can continue to rely on sponsorship. So a range of questions there that we'll be addressing, and I'll be bringing some information on that as well. Also, you'll recall we had a presentation from Justin and Kirk regarding the possibility of taking the household hazardous waste event-driven program and making that more of an ongoing program, similar to what e-recycling is for us now. And they're continuing to work through a number of those issues. I understand they met with your Mark and maybe some of your folks a couple of weeks ago, I guess, work out some of the details. So that's moving forward. We're going to be hearing more on that in the near future. They did a site visit with a potential contractor who's interested. And they'll be bringing us more details in the near future. They gave me some additional information on the e-recycling center and the use, and I'll provide those. It's a bunch of numbers. I don't think reading them out loud to you right now is particularly helpful. Judd did mention that Christmas was pretty slow this year, but they see that rebounding already. So there's still a significant demand out there. I made my first use of the facility a week ago. I started cleaning out the basement and stuff I've had there for probably 2 decades. And I'll be making another run one of these days too. So it was a great experience too. And honestly, I'm sure they didn't know who I was, so it's not like they were all in good behavior. They just did a good job. I was in and out of there. It was very professionally handled. And no glitches. Just a good experience. Something our folks down there can be proud of. So I just want to let you know that. Excuse my voice. The only other thing I mentioned that I've been trying to update you folks on is the search for the CEO at the Cumberland Area Economic Development continues. We had some discussion about it before the meeting earlier this week. Yesterday we had another interview. Next week we're going to begin the second round of interviews. We still have some first interviews. We do have some candidates to work with, and that is proceeding forward. The organization is, of course, continuing to conduct business, and I think we'll be getting the updates that there's going to be the Founders Breakfast will be coming up for our Alliance members, and a number of projects that are being worked on. I think I've shared with you some updates that are important items that Kate's working on. So continue moving forward on that. I have a conference call tomorrow morning with the CCAP Academy of Excellence. And if anything new or different comes out of that, I'm sure they'll let you know. That's all I have.
Sam, could I just want to add one other thing. The day before yesterday, just to bring the attention of my colleagues, the day before yesterday, I attended a committee meeting, transportation committee meeting with the Carlisle Chamber of Commerce. It was kind of like a follow-up to the presentation that we had with Mike Kaiser on capacity expansion, the need for capacity expansion of Interstate 81. And I believe that what came out of this committee meeting is that the chamber is intending to send a representative to the next board meeting in Harrisburg area transportation study to keep this ball rolling, to advocate for the development of the master plan that's needed now, to at least start the process of trying to chip away at the acknowledgement now by PennDOT that we need to move forward with widening Interstate 81 in Cumberland County throughout the region. So I'm very happy that our business community understands the critical need for these improvements to move forward. And, it's about public safety, number one, but it's also about our economy. So I just wanted to share that the chamber is discussing as to how they continue to support this effort.
Thank you, Commissioner Sargent. Before we move on to the next agenda item, I would like to provide three of you with an update for the Cumberland County Commission for Women. They had their meeting on January 10th, which is a quarterly meeting, which is held here in the Commission hearing room at 6 p.m. And at that meeting, they elected their officers for 2019. They also discussed at length the general information details and speakers for the March 26th Sandwich Generations Caring for Caregiver program that will be held at Messiah Lifeways at 6 p.m. And they also plan to hold a Part 2 program in the fall of 2019, focusing on grandparents caring for grandchildren of opiate-addicted parents. This part is just in the discussion stages. It has not been finalized, and so they will continue discussing that as they go on with the board meetings. They also talked about the Lyme disease program that is being planned for April 30th, and plan to have more discussion on that program in the next month or two before plans are finalized. They would like to talk about volunteering opportunities at some upcoming nonprofit events and programs with local organizations. And during that meeting, we did, in addition to the 2 members that they have put forth for a recommendation to join the Commission for Women, they had an additional guest. Her name was Ellie Park. She's from Carlisle, and she would like to apply for a membership on the Cumberland County Commission for Women. With the addition of the 2 new members, we did have a resignation and Kathy Cashon, and she said that she would resign because she had to focus on other things this year. So I'm guessing it was for personal reasons that she didn't want to get into it. So with the 2 new people, if you approve them on Monday, we will have 15 members total. Their next informal meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, January 29th at 6 p.m. at Wegmans on the Carlisle Pike in Mechanicsburg. And at that meeting, they plan to work on the March 26th format and panelist questions. So I think they've improved quite a bit in the last year. I'm very proud of them.
I continue to be impressed by the turnaround there. Those topics that they're addressing.
Very different.
Very good, very useful stuff. Well, volunteerism and all that. So it sounds like you've got it's fully staffed up now. You've got good folks on it too. It's very impressive. So we've seen significant improvement there. Thank you for that. Good job.
Yes.
Yeah, Sandy, I just wanted to suggest that the Commission for Women might also work with the Office of Aging. I just reported here relative to the caregivers program.
Okay.
And one of the things that they're talking about too is helping grandparents who have to take care of children. So maybe there would be a way to kind of coordinate. Yeah, and not only that, but there's certain programs that are made available through the Office of Aging that helps, to help support service. So just I think it would be good to coordinate.
Okay. I will pass that information along. Thank you, Commissioner Hudson. We'll move on to agenda item 13, and I would like to request an executive session to be held directly after this meeting regarding personnel issues. We have 3 items under other business. We'll begin with the library system lease agreement, followed
2016, John Locke and Larry Thomas came to our board and asked us to start looking for a new location. And in December 2017, we did get our eviction notice, which means we need to be out by December 2019. And we have identified a place after an extensive search. It's located at 400 Bent Creek Boulevard in Mechanicsburg, and it's the home of the Pennsylvania School Boards Association. They recently closed a department, and that opened up space. They're new landlords. This is sort of their first run, and we just seem to have a very good relationship, and the price was right, and the price and conditions. In the lease, you'll see that we are slated to rent 5,445 square feet of office space. There is an additional 700 square feet of storage space, and that's in a terrace level, so it's not, basement or attic storage. It's very nice storage space. They also have a conference center there. I don't know if you've ever been to the facility, but very nice high-tech facility with 5 small meeting rooms ranging from a meeting room for 5 people around a table to something even larger than this space. And then a huge conference space that accommodates about 150 people with a catering kitchen. And so we have use of that, and that's outlined in the lease that essentially all we need to do is give them our dates and it's reserved for us. It also comes with parking for all of our employees and the many visitors that we get. Within this lease, it is a 10-year lease with a 1% increase each year in the rent, with 2 5-year renewal terms. And with, I believe it's 180 days notification to do that. There's no security deposit. There are no utility costs during the term that we are paying rent. We do have 2 months of free rent as they're doing, I assume it's going to happen while they're doing the build out, and we are paying utilities at $907.50 for those 2, that's for the heat and the electric to move in. But after that, you can see there's a table on page 2 of the lease that outlines the costs over the 10-year period. Exhibit C does outline the whole situation with the rent with no utilities. Exhibit E does show the janitorial obligations that we have. And Exhibit D, sorry, I went out of order there, but Exhibit D shows that there is a cost built in where the Pennsylvania School Boards Association will pay $75,000 worth of build out. When we met, it's a small facility, but it can accommodate us with the addition of 1 office and 1 server room, and then some counter spaces for workroom areas like I call it our computer fix-it shop, our receiving and processing area for books, and also our, for lack of a better term, mailroom area, copier area. So they'll be doing that build out, and Maori is their preferred builder. It was not an option to bid that out to anyone else, but they're paying the bill, so it doesn't fall under our bidding rules. So Maori is doing the work, and they've come in at just over $75,000. It's $76,500. So we certainly have it in our budget. We did build in additional costs into our 2019 library system budget for the move and adjustments to the building. They will also be doing full wiring of the facility. It needs to be taken off the network of the School Board Association and put into ours, and of course additional wiring for all the computer work that we do. Page 10 of the lease does outline that it shows that the county would be the tenant and assigns the space to the Cumberland County Library System. I think what else would be important for you to know. I think those are the key things of the agreement. We went through this quite extensively. Jennifer Hipp is very thorough with the lease language. She really seemed to understand it, and we had negotiated many things up front, and then she just made sure that everything was spelled out clearly in the lease. In addition to that, yesterday there was concern brought up that we didn't have any kind of a
a payment agreement. If the county were to take on this lease, how could we guarantee that the library system would pay that bill? And so we, mainly Jennifer Hipp, with the assistance of Dana Best and myself, drew up a cost and expense pass-through agreement. So on page front and back that you should have. And this ratifies a decades-long process of cost and expense pass-through. It's a practice we've been following. Because the county does all of the collects the tax dollars and then distributes them in 12 payments throughout the year, I think it's enough collateral that if there were, I think the last point of this agreement, number 6, was if we're in default for more than 60 days, if we're delinquent in a payment of any kind to the county, that the county would be able to reduce the library tax payment to make up for that. And so I think it works for all of our purposes.
Keith, there were 3 minor edits in the lease agreement that you could address.
Yes.
I assume you looked at the pass-through agreement, which is rather simple.
I did, yes.
And Carolyn, on the exhibit G, we still don't have like commencement date or expiration date?
We do not. Part of that's contingent upon whether or not it gets signed today. It's also going to the Pennsylvania School Board Association Board of Directors today to make sure they agree with it. Pennsylvania School Boards Association's preference would be that the start date is February 1st. It does say that it would be commencement of the earlier of 2, the date the tenant takes permission of the premises, or the 5th calendar day following substantial completion. So that certainly needs to be worked out, but everything else is.
So we have 2 actions that you're requesting, that's approval of the pass-through agreement, approval of the lease. So let's prevent if you have any issues on either document.
Now, with respect to the lease, if the school board association is going to be the board meeting, is that today you said?
It's today.
I would condition your approval of the lease on the approval of the lease by the school board association. That way you're not going back and forth later on.
Good point.
And if you wouldn't mind following up with them to see if they took affirmative action on that
Sure.
lease, and let the commissioners know so they can sign.
If I might, before we make motions here, we had a conversation yesterday relative to this funding situation and so forth. And I think that, well, let me preface it by saying, the county has had a good partnership and will continue to have a good partnership with our county library system. But I want to thank Carol, I want to thank staff, as a result of yesterday's conversation, for drafting the cost and expense pass-through agreement with our county's library system. And while we've had this terrific partnership, and while I know that there's been an understanding that county library system costs are borne by the library system via its special tax and its own budget, the reason we reduce such understandings to writing now with this agreement is so that we can avoid any future misunderstandings. In addition, the county's action to enter into a lease agreement on behalf of the library system for the library system's new headquarters is an entirely different scenario from years gone by. We are no longer the landlord to the library system. We are becoming a tenant with another party for the library system. The rental cost for the library system's new headquarters, if I added up this over the 10 years, is over $1 million. That's a lot of money. And while it may be a great deal, and I'm not going to dispute that, that's a lot of money. So I believe this accompanying written agreement that will be hopefully approved and signed by all parties in conjunction with the lease agreement cements the verbal understandings that the cost and obligation of this lease for the library system and all other related expenses for the operation of the county library system, as they have been through our verbal understandings, are the responsibility of the library system and its board, and not a county government obligation. So I want to thank everybody for putting that agreement together, and it just puts into writing what we're doing.
We have a motion, please, to approve the cost and expense pass-through agreement.
So moved.
Is there a second? No, sir. Any further questions or comments on that agreement? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, we have approval of the actual lease. As recommended, should be conditioned. Is there a motion for approval of the lease?
For that adoption.
I'll second with the suggested comments that were solicited that it be conditional in the school board association.
Correct. We have a motion and a second. Any further questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, the next item on your other business is the compassionate care hospice contract that is being presented by the list.
We have a resident in the house that requires hospice, and they have specifically asked for compassionate care hospice. We offer them the other hospice providers that we have contracts with already, but they want this particular one, and as we all know, it is definitely their personal relationship. We would ask that, we had gotten notice of this on Tuesday. Keith, the solicitor's office was so generous to go through it with us with the one change that he wanted. They made immediately, and we got everything over for you guys to look at today that could have an action today. It is a revenue contract. There's no expenditure. Any questions on that?
Okay, so we need action on that today.
I'll move for adoption.
We have a motion, is there a second?
I'll make a motion to,
No, we have a motion, we need a second.
oh, I'll second. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Any further questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thanks.
Is there any other business to bring before the board of commissioners?